Welcome back, everyone, to Fortunica's View of the World. Today, I have with me one of our master advisors at Fortunica. Yes, I am talking about Hazel. I know many of you recognize her from her live events on Instagram, as well as on Fortunica. Hazel, I'm so pleased to have you here today. Please give me a brief introduction for those who may not have seen you here before.
Well, myself, I've worked for Fortunica since day dot. There's been many changes and very positive changes at that. If you decide to come to me for a reading, I won't pussyfoot around, you get what you ask for. As many of my clients will say, that's the way they prefer it, because at the end of the day, you're coming to me for help, and that's what you'll get. I'm straightforward. What you see is what you get. You'll even get spelling mistakes, because when I'm reading, I just zone out completely and just type what my guides tell me to type.
Well, I just want to say that I truly love your straightforward style. It's the British brashness that makes you so popular. Now, before we get into our topics today, I just want to remind everyone that the forecasts today are for entertainment purposes only. Fortunica is the #1 app in Europe, and we are gaining followers from all over the world. The View of the World podcast is something new that we are sharing to help everyone adjust to the world we are living in today. The Fortunica app allows individuals to get advice, guidance, and lessons about life in general. We have been around since 2010 and work very closely with life coaches, psychics, mediums, astrologers, energy healers, certified therapists, and so much more. A lot of people have questions that they don't feel comfortable talking about with friends or family. The app is very simple to use. It is free to register on the app, and there is a lot of free material to help uplift you throughout your day. Because we know that the world is out of sync with peace and compassion these days, so we can all use a few moments of being uplifted. The best part about Fortunica is you are allowed to move at your own comfort level. You decide who or if you want to engage in a conversation with an advisor. You get to remain anonymous, and you determine the depth of the conversations. It is very difficult today to maintain a positive attitude because everyone wants to know what's coming next. Hazel, once again, thank you for joining me here. I hope that you are ready to jump in and help people to prepare for things to come.
Without a doubt, because you can't live in the past, you need to live in the future. So it's time to draw the line under the past and look forward, because that's where your life begins.
Well, can I ask you, what do you advise users to do to have another view of the world?
Sometimes you have to step outside the box and outside of your comfort zone and look through a different pair of eyes, as strange as that sounds. Because when you're focusing on the negatives, you don't see the positives around yourself. So sometimes you have to take that step back, give your head a little wobble, and look at it from a different perspective. Myself as a reader, I have to do that. No doubt you have to do that, Maria, because that's part of life. It throws us curveballs, and you come to the point where you can either dodge the curveball or let it hit you, and then that's where you worry a lot more.
That's absolutely true. I've dodged a few curveballs myself. So I want to start by looking at things that are currently in the news. Recently, there was a report that the White House had a breach in security. 2 individuals compromised 4 agents in the Secret Service. They were given very expensive living quarters and other expensive gifts during this time. What I want to know is this being investigated seriously within the Secret Service? And will we hear about the investigation in the public?
It is being investigated, and because of the, how can I explain it? Because of the circumstances, the people that were put at risk, the families that were put at risk, I feel even though the investigation is going on, it will be kept hush hush. For the simple reason they won't want to put details in the news, because that will give other outside agencies like terrorists and other people the chance to understand how they got involved and how they got into that position. So the White House will do the investigation, but keep the outcome very quiet, just to protect themselves and the people they have working there.
That makes a lot of sense. But was the Biden family ever in any danger?
I don't feel they were in danger. I feel the security situation around them was in danger, if that makes sense. Because they weren't in danger because the people that wanted to get involved wanted to know the outcome of things, spies, so that they can pass the information on to the relevant people.
Okay. So do you think that there are more agents being compromised in this way?
Definitely, definitely. Because they won't stop at the first hurdle. When they want to know government information, they will keep going and going till they get what they want.
Well, was there any involvement with previous administrations that allowed this administration to be compromised?
Yes, yes. Biden have got so many enemies, and not, how can I explain it, not recent enemies. You got people from the past that didn't want him to serve the situation that he is. And because of the situation, I won't mention other politicians, but you think of some of the dirty plays that's going on so that people can get what they need, so that they can look better.
I don't know what direction this is going in, because really it kind of opened the door to show how corrupt the American administrations have been in the past. And it is putting a spotlight on those politicians who seem to almost feel like they're celebrities, entertainers.
Yes, yes, I agree there. And they're going to have a downfall, because if these details come out, if these spies, I'll call them spies because that's what they basically are. Okay. If they get the details of the future, Biden is in big trouble, because that's his way of trying to keep things secret, as most politicians do. Mm-hmm. But it always comes out in the end.
Wow. Let's move to another country. North Korea stole over 600 million in cryptocurrency. It seems that this is not being investigated. Will they attempt to do it again on a larger scale?
Yes, definitely, because the thing behind that is, if you think of the world at the moment, they steal this money, then it can't be used against them for weapons and other things. So they are safeguarding themselves by stealing this money, because they will keep it one side, because then it can't be used against them in an act of, how can I explain? They won't put themselves in danger. So by taking the money, they're protecting themselves from people buying weapons.
That's what I was going to ask. Are they using the money to buy more weapons?
Yes. And that's what they needed to stop.
So that was their purpose in stealing the money, because
yes.
if cryptocurrency is much harder to track.
Yeah.
And so you can't tell what's being bought and what's being sold.
Not like a bank transfer where you've got all the details there. with crypto, there's no footprint behind it.
Exactly. That's even more scarier than the White House situation, to be honest with you.
It is, because when you think about it, years ago, everything was done with pen and paper. Now it's all done via internet. There's no footprints left behind. And it's scary because it's going to get worse in that situation with the crypto. How can I put it? It's an awkward situation. If you can afford to lose money, then it's okay to invest. But if you can't, don't bother.
Right. Well, Putin's crimes seem to be adding up. Eventually, eventually, do you see him trying to take revenge against the US?
Yes.
Will he be successful in this?
No. His way of looking at it is he's very dirty in the way that he plays. We'll say the way he plays because to him, this is a game.
Yeah.
This is one big game where to him, he's working his way through the little people to come against the big people. But the big people are stronger than him, and he has failed to realize that.
It's kind of amazing to see how he has gone up against Ukraine, a much smaller country than him, but they have done so well to fend him off, even
Yes.
though they have lost thousands and thousands of people, in which we all, of course, pray for their souls. But it seems like they have been effective in bringing him to his knees.
And that's why he is now afraid to go for the bigger people. So he's trying to build up his, should we say, army. He's trying to build that up by bringing more people in. But that's going to come back and bite him on the bum, because when he goes to the US, that's where they are bigger than he ever expects.
Well, oh, excuse me.
Oh, bless you.
Sorry. All of this talk about current situations just getting me stuffed up.
It's scary to think that we're a world and this is how our world have gone.
It is scary because we're not talking about day-to-day people that you run into on the street who have negative thoughts in their mind. You're talking about people who are in control of countries and
Yes.
who are in control of huge military forces. So yes, it is very scary to think about these things. Now, I want to ask you about something that was in the news a couple of years ago. Just when the pandemic began, we all have heard about the economic crisis around the world, but I want to know how all the logistic and supply chain issues that we've been having, how is that going to affect the food supply around the world?
Right, this is really, really interesting. If you think back to when the pandemic started, toilet roll, it was extinct. Nobody could get toilet roll anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they were saying, don't panic buy, people were, because they're scared. Mm-hmm. And this is the other thing now. If you think since the pandemic, food prices have gone up, fuel prices have gone up, everything have gone up, because I feel this is the way the companies are trying to recover money that they lost.
Well, it wasn't just the companies that lost money. People were out of work.
Yeah.
You know, people lost their homes. And it was because of those people who came back to the workforce in droves that these companies survived.
Yeah.
And this is how they're paying them back.
And it's the same as the truck drivers. These poor truck drivers, what they are faced with every single day. Without them, we wouldn't have a food chain.
Right.
They travel above and beyond to make sure that we as people are able to live. But the other thing is, the companies who are taking the most are putting people in more poverty. This is going to have a knock-on effect, I'd say, for 5 to 10 years.
Oh, that's scary to hear. So is there anything that people can actually do to prepare for upcoming food shortages?
I wouldn't say stockpile, because that's not going to be the answer, because everybody's going to be in the same position. What I would say is just things that you use the most, which are non-perishable, just buy 2 extra. Because if you were to buy 2 extra, if you think about it, if you bought 2 extra of everything in your food cupboard, that's where you'd have enough to tide you over.
Yeah, but you're talking about years of struggles.
Yeah.
So are you talking about buy 2 extra every time you go shopping, or just 2 extra for a period of time?
2 extra. If I say, right, if you think about your Christmas shopping, people start Christmas shopping November time. They'll have a box in the cupboard where they'll stick extra bits into, so that their Christmas shopping so expensive. So just think about doing that with your non-perishables, because things like, they reckon milk is going to fly up in price.
Yeah.
You can't get a loaf of bread and a pint of milk now for less than £5, basically, because everything is so expensive. And that's where the knock-on effect is. The same with the heating. Sorry, I know we're going off the subject, but it's all
No.
with the economy. The heating and the electric. People are going to have to decide whether they eat or whether they can heat their homes. So if they buy little extra bits now, come the winter, they're going to have that fallback of food. And they could do that every year so that they are not losing out as well.
So also stock up on the thermal underwear.
Yes.
And heavy sweaters, because the heating is going to go up. The electricity costs are going to go up. So you got to find other ways of staying warm.
Definitely.
I think this is going to lead to overpopulation as well.
Yes. Because people won't be able to afford to watch the TV, so they'll go to bed early.
I was thinking more along the lines, they would turn the heat down and find other ways to stay warm, but television is another reason why.
Yes. But can I just put this out there?
Yes.
Guys, never feel embarrassed asking for help. There are food banks, there are agencies that will help you. Don't feel you can't ask, because that's what they're there for. Utilize them.
Excellent. Great idea. Even though when the pandemic hit, the food banks were overloaded, but it did allow a lot of people to volunteer.
Yes.
In ways that they hadn't thought of before.
Yes.
So this is something to look to,
Definitely.
Even now you see many people coming out to help refugees. And I know that they report on the news how certain countries were limiting the refugees into their countries, in which if one particular country is taking the majority of the refugees, that is putting a load on your system. And so you have to put a limit. But right now, what you see is that multiple countries are opening their doors to the refugees and finding ways to help as best they possibly can. So this is a good thing. Okay, let's get on to some not so serious topics. Let's talk about the celebrity news that we have going on. Okay, so Elon Musk has been trying to buy Twitter. Is he going to be successful in this?
He is, but he sees the money because he has ulterior motives here. His ulterior motives are, and this is one to think about, dividing the company. We say it's a company, even though it's a social media platform, because he would technically be buying a company.
Right.
He would then sell shares to it. He would
Mhm.
then charge people to advertise their business on it.
Okay.
So whereas Twitter have always been known as the free platform, it would no longer become free. It would become more like other social medias where
Like
you have
Facebook.
to pay. Yeah, I didn't know if I could say that, so I was safeguarding myself.
Well, this is for entertainment purposes only, so
So
this is our opinion.
he will turn Twitter more into Facebook.
Mhm.
So even though he's paying multi-millions that we could only dream of,
Right.
this is his way of taking more control of the world, because he is one of the richest men in the world.
Well, this is just it. You have more money than you can possibly
Yeah.
spend in 10 lifetimes. So why not help those people find ways of helping people who can't, who are struggling through this
Yeah.
lifetime?
The thing is, it comes down to plain greed. The more money you have, the more money you want.
I know that he's probably going to want to be buried with it. And I can only say that I believe then he'll become a really big celebrity, because everybody will want to know where his grave is and keep digging him up.
But at the end of the day, I believe in the saying, you can't take it with you. So be generous and help people that need to be helped, not just brag about it in the news. I've got this many multi-millions that I'm now going to buy Twitter.
Exactly, because you're right, you can't take it with you, and it's better to have that generosity out into the universe where you can see it while you're still alive.
If you look at us in that position, we are not multi-millionaires. We work, we just survive. If you see somebody homeless, you'll buy them a cup of coffee.
Absolutely.
Whereas he have got all these millions and bragging about it. Do something useful for the economy.
You are preaching to the choir. I am sure that many people have mentioned to them, all of these billionaires out there, that wouldn't it be great if you did something to help the common man?
Yeah.
With all of those millions that you're bringing in. And I can't see how you owning businesses and paying your employees just above minimum wage is helping the common man.
Yeah.
And without those employees, I might say, you would not have the millions or billions that you have now.
No. And I always think back to the grandparents. Years ago, they struggled. So wouldn't it be nice to give something back to show that you appreciated that?
You know, Elon Musk is always in the news talking about himself and Tesla and the businesses that he's acquiring, but he doesn't mention much about his family. And so you have to imagine that his family probably wants to remain private.
Yeah.
And out of the news, which is understandable. But wouldn't they also want to pass down the struggles that their families went through?
It makes you think how their family dynamics work.
Yeah.
Because you know yourself, with our parents, as they were getting older, they needed that little bit of help. Our children have needed help. And it makes you think, if that's how we think, and we are just normal people, we live day to day, how somebody of his, what should we say, richness, can do what he does and not think about other people in the process.
Isn't that sad? That's kind of sad.
Really sad.
Yeah.
quite selfish as well, really.
That is true. And I kind of feel like that's something that all of these billionaires and millionaires have in common.
Yes. Yeah.
They try to correlate it to intelligence and business savvy and all of this, but really it comes down to just being selfish because you want it all for yourself.
Yeah. And that's not the way the world works at the moment. If you think about how many of us go into a charity shop, yes, we are being done a favor because we are buying things cheaper, but we're also helping that charity.
Absolutely.
So by going in that shop, we are gaining, they are gaining. But with these multi-millionaires, it just seems that they want to gain. They don't want to give back.
They don't want to see anybody else gain.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say that it's lonely at the top.
Yes.
Not that I would know. I'm nowhere near the top, but I see that they can't go anywhere without cameras following them.
Yes.
And every business move or personal move that they make is all over the news. So I would want to stay away from them if just being the common person, I wouldn't want to be too close to them because I wouldn't want to be involved in all of that chaos that they got going on around them.
It's a sad, lonely life.
You know, but they seem to enjoy it and they seem to thrive on it. And I guess that each person has their own purpose.
That's so true. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so now the big celebrity news has been this defamation case between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. How do you see this going?
Do you know, this is going to sound really strange. I got a feeling this is actually going to be thrown out.
Really?
Because it's tit for tat. They're like two children in a playground.
Yeah.
Just trying to hurt each other.
And I mean, are they ever going to be able to be civil to one another?
I think because they're so much alike and it's all about fame, I don't think they'd be able to. Because for them, it's a dog-eat-dog world.
I like dogs, but I don't want to eat them.
No, neither do I. I've got a big white one hiding somewhere, but I don't fancy eating him. But with them, it's what one can do for the better. Who can get the higher points? Who can get the higher ratings? That's no life to live. You're just making enemies from people around you because of that situation.
So then you see this court case as just like a publicity stunt.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's such a waste of our time and energy.
Without a doubt. And again, the court system could be there helping somebody who needs it.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, okay. So let me ask you, do you ever receive messages from famous people who have passed on?
Yes.
Like who?
Well, you know, confidentiality laws.
Okay, but if they passed on,
let me think now. I've had a few. One from a lady who was Welsh, and she was very well known. Of course, I grew up very close to Pontypridd.
Who was that?
I grew up very close to Pontypridd when I was growing up. And this lady was from Pontypridd.
Okay.
And she was just coming at me with information. And that was actually when I was driving back through Pontypridd.
Oh.
And then when I asked, because of course, the Rhondda, Wales, is a small place. Mm-hmm. And when I said, like, you know, I was driving through Ponty and I was given this information, and they were all laughing and they worked out who it was because she was telling me about a pub. I say a pub, they weren't called pubs then, they were called working men's clubs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I suppose a mining village, that's the way it worked. And they were just saying how it worked and how they enjoyed and how they missed the people that's there.
Okay.
And it's really strange.
Well, do you ever get messages telling you about things that are coming in the future? And if there's a way for you to pass that message on to the regular people, like through here?
Yes, yes. I have, if I say to you, my Facebook, I will often, if I've just been pottering around, you know, it's like a woman's work is never done. You've always got dishes or hoovering to do. And I could be doing it. And Kathy, my guide, Kathy is absolutely brilliant. She'll come to me and she'll say, there's this little boy. He needs you to let his mum know he's okay. He had leukemia. He died when he was 3.5. And that to me is telling me that message needs to get out there. So I'll put on my social media, guys, I don't know who this is for. I've just been cleaning. It's come to me. Oh.
We have a little technical glitch here. There you go.
And I say, it's come to me, but this is where things, this little boy needs to let you know that he's okay. You know, and it's things like that that happen. And that message is powerful for me, but it's even more powerful for the person that receives it.
Okay, so you mentioned your guide, Kathy.
Yes.
And so I want to know, does Kathy have any messages for the general population today?
Focus on the future, not the past. You can't change the past. This is one of Kathy's favorite sayings. You can't change the past, but you can dictate the future.
This is true. And I just hope that we all can come together and find a great focus for our future.
You'll find now communities will pull together a lot more. It's all about community spirit that will keep each other going along.
Wow, you've got some really great insights. And I am so grateful that you took the time to join me on my podcast today. I'm looking forward to speaking with you again. And I hope our viewers enjoyed this little session as well. Please, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Feel free to ask a question in the comments that we can ask on our next video. I am really interested in hearing your views on this discussion. If you want to get in touch with Hazel, you can find her on the Fortunica app. If you would also like to see your favorite advisor featured here, leave their name in the comments. This has been a real pleasure, and I hope to see you all soon with more interesting interviews like this. Enjoy your day, leave the past behind you, and live in the now. I'm Maria Meyer, and this is Fortunica's View of the World.